is it something I did? Still I wonder, cause it isn't too clear. I don't want no trouble, tired of the lies. You found yourself another, heart as cold as ice. I'm trying to recover, do you even realize?
Never reminded, never taking whatever you told me. I know what I could be, making emotion painful inside. Tell me, is this what you made me?
inside my head you took is never coming back, but you said that it wasn't personal. And every time you lied to me, it's like I didn't want to see, cause I thought you were beautiful, and beauty doesn't want to be mischievous and devious and set a fire unto us, but you were never beautiful at all. I wasn't fine to begin with, walked out those lines to begin with, but you forced me to work on myself because you put me through hell. I guess I should thank you for that. I'm okay, but it was a real close call. It went from a walk to a crawl. Had to tear down the Berlin Wall. I was panicking, but hey, I guess that I survived you. And that shit was hard to do. I've had every shade of blues since I met you. I think that I'm over it, but then I see you out again, laughing with the group of friends. There he is, you're holding hands, makes me feel pathetic and a little bit erratic, so I drink till I can't stand. And you know I won't confront you, even though it's all I wanna do. Probably best to just ignore it, both impossible and true. I wasn't fine to begin with, walked all those lines to begin with, but you forced me to work on myself because you put me through hell. Thank you for that. I'm okay, but it was a real close call. It went from a walk to a crawl. Had to tear down the Berlin Wall. I was panicking, but hey, I guess that I survived you. And that shit was hard to do. I've had every shade of blues since I met you. She loves me, she...
I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Who you think you are? Who you think you
Hello everyone, tonight I am joined by the almost proper team of Kingsman and Tavish. How are
Wow.
you two today?
Almost proper.
Oh.
I don't know whether to feel insulted or not. Because we're back. Mal, we replaced the two replacements. And I'd say pretty much the team was back together. Mal and Buddha, you can switch them out either way, I think. We'll still see when Mal does this. It's like his trial. Maybe we'll see him on here long term, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing good as well. And I agree with you, Kings, but this is trial. If it goes wrong, then I'll just shift one place to the middle and then we get Buddha back in. But no pressure, Mal, no pressure.
Of course. I mean, you said I'm a replacement for Buddha. The problem is Buddha's usually where Tavish is, so it's kind of like...
Yeah, I know.
You've not thought this through, Kingsman.
I haven't, no, I don't think.
No, it
Anyway.
also feels weird to sit on the side right now, but still ready to do this.
But yeah, as everyone in chat can tell, there's been a few mixes around because of unavailability. But let's get us into the beginning of the weekly recap, starting with the lovely prospect tier results. I'll let Kingsman take it away with Glacius.
Yeah, I wish I was doing Glacies, to be honest. Go on, Tavish,
Yeah.
all over to you.
Oh,
I'll take Glaciers away. Otherwise, I would love to talk about my own franchise in Ignis, but I'll let Kingsman roast my franchise and I'll roast his. So, Glaciers, two teams actually going perfect here. 8-0 Terra and Neja both going 8-0. Terra getting the 2 sweeps against Craftsman and Newborn. Neja going 2 sweeps against Palmis and Tomfoolery. No draws here whatsoever. And then Craftsman, a little bit of a rough week for them. They get swept by Terra, but they managed to get one win back against Pawn, still losing that series. So at least they got something going. But besides that, all the teams, they win, they lose. So it's a 4-4 for any other team here in Glaciers.
yeah, I mean, that is a couple sweeps. No draws, which is surprising. I mean... Now that I know which way round is which way round, I'll let Kingsman take it away with Ignis. They're just trying to confuse me, I think.
Honestly,
Maybe.
we might just switch on for the next tier. You never know. But one draw and the entire conference was to be found in Ignis between Caro and Taisho. Caro, a team that has not found a win yet this season, and 2 4-0s being found. One in the side of Tartarus, one of the 2 sides in Ignis currently sat at 4-0-0. A very impressive start to them. The other team being Mosaic, who went 6-2, beating Basilics and Livens 3-1. But talking about Serene Taisho, they found their second win this season, their first draw, putting them 6-2. But obviously the big winners will be Tartarus, the best form, going 7-1 this week. And well, I'm sure the league table will back that up.
Definitely, and I mean, it is sad to see them 7-1 rather than that 8-0 that every team loves to see. But speaking of the upcoming standings, now I know which way around people are. I'll let Tavish take Glacius for Prospect.
Yeah, a little bit of movement here in Glacius, but not too much, to be honest. Nija and Terra both at the top after that sweep that both teams had here in week 2. They are now on pretty close to each other. Nija having a little bit of the edge there, 15 wins. Terra close to them with 11. We're going in week 3 right now, so still close here after the 2 weeks. Newborn then in 3rd with 9, same as Genzai on 9. Pons, Palmist, and Propel all on 8, filling the 5th, 6th, and 7th spot. Then Enkol is a little bit further down, 6 wins. Tomfoolery on 4, and Craftsman having just the rough side here of the entire table, sitting on 2 wins.
Definitely, and I mean, last week when you two weren't here, we mentioned how close it seemed. There seems to still be a big clump in the middle. I don't know if that is the same over in Ignis, but Kingsman, why don't you take us through that one?
Well, are we going to go? Nah, if it goes, no, I thought we were going to see 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But no, Tartarus, they're going to be 13, remaining top of the table. And the other side, 4 wins from 4 is Mosaic. 4 3-1s. Pretty consistent. I wonder if they can keep that up all season. Probably not, but you've got to back them in the early stages. Alta, they have lost 1, but they do find themselves on 11 wins currently. So still a good start to the season. Serene Taisho, 2-1-1 on 10 wins. They got that sweep this week, which will be massive for them early season, as games, they fluctuate in and out. Positions fluctuate until about week 4 or 5, where they start to settle down. But Obscurity on 9, Livens in 6th on 8, holding on to that top 6 spot. And then there's a disconnect to Caro in 6th, a side that is already rebuilding with Masters retiring his sign-up and absolutely just dipping completely. And then one behind them is Basilics, a side that have got 1 win compared to everyone around them, but 3 losses doesn't suit them nicely at the bottom of the table. Cardinals, they've got a draw, but double losses this week will see them tied on 3, with the one team on 4 losses in 10th place on 3 wins. It's Juventus.
Yeah, and I mean, Alpha Surge or Basilisks, they're being kind of the team that needs to prove themselves. They're the only new franchise in the entire thing. Or in that entire conference, sorry, not in the entire thing, because there's plenty in the other conference. But, I mean, maybe if Kingsman learns how to pronounce basilisks, things will go better. Maybe he'll do a better job on the on the upcoming fixtures. I'm giving you time to figure it out, Kingsman, because Tavish can take it away with Glacius.
Yeah, so couple interesting matchups happening. Most of the fights will be happening in the middle of the table, but we do have 2 fights actually happening in the top 5. We have Nija taking on Genzai and Newborn taking on Pawns. So those 2 matchups definitely have the biggest influence on how the top 5 are going, because Nija Genzai, it's the number 1 versus the number 4, and Newborn Pawns is the number 3 versus the number 5. Pawns on the other, Genzai on the other side is also taking on Propel, so a little bit of a good week for them. They can face off against one of the top teams, then face off against one of the bottom teams. So looking to them if they can kind of cancel it out on the results, but also maybe an upset result for the top. Besides that, Enkol with Tuesday, a little bit of a rougher matchup here. They have to face off against Terra. So for Terra, maybe an easy win to climb up to Nidia. Otherwise, maybe an upset potential there.
Definitely. I mean, it is the time for some of these teams to really start proving themselves. As this, by the end of this coming week, we will see a third of the season pass. But over in Ignis, are there any interesting matchups that you would like to talk about, Kingsman?
Well, the big one going on tonight, Serene Taisho versus Tartarus. Both coming off mega weeks last week, and they're both looking to build from that and push forward. And Mosaic, they have Alta. It's the second v third. Alta having one loss in week one. That's a matchup that both sides really need to get a result here. And Mosaic, they have Caro in their other gamer side that will be a bit uneasy as they look to find replacements in their roster. But the other one I'm going to mention as a bottom of the table scrap, one draw out of the 8 games between them, Cardinals versus Jabatus. If both teams want to try and revive any chance of going anywhere this season, they need a win there to send the other one streaking down to the bottom and give them no chance of keeping within them. And I know Mal said I had this time to give it a go, but I'm not even going to mention that team name. They can be left till next week.
Damn, this is really turning into Cowpole all over again, isn't it, really, Kingsman?
Yep. Oh, yeah, all over again.
Kingsman Candy was
Not going to be mentioned. Not for the 9 weeks of RSCast. Not going to mention the roster once.
I feel so sorry for those players, but I think it is about time we moved on to the next screen, which, if I am not mistaken, will be the results from week number 2 for Challenger. So to start us out, any good results there, Tavish?
Yeah, we do have another team going 8-0 this time. It's Bishops for the Kingsman's franchise. I'm just gonna call it like that. Since he's not pronouncing names, I'm not pronouncing his franchise. But they do get 2 sweeps versus Kiyomi and Gelpi. So 2 sweeps there. Besides that, only I want to say one other sweep, but there isn't actually another sweep. But we do have a draw here between Mischief and Apprentice. The only draw here in this conference. Besides that, everything is either the 2 sweeps from Bishops, otherwise it's a 3-1. And Apprentices having also a pretty good week here. They're going 5-3, getting a win against Feather and then a draw against that Mischief roster. Besides that, nothing really too worth mentioning.
I was about to say there's one draw in the entirety of Glacius for Challenger and Prospect in the last week. That's quite impressive. And before we go to Ignis, okay, Kingsman, it's pronounced Komodos, okay? But off you go.
Well, Komodos go 3-5. So there you go. I've said the team name now. Anyways, no team in Ignis Challenger goes 4 wins out of 4. Serene Yamato, they will find themselves in their first draw this week, and they get a 3-1 onto Crusaders. A bit of a step back from their 8-0 first week, but only one team found a double win week this week, and it was Shrine. They 3-1 Kapakli in what was a brilliant result, and 3-1 Komodos to leave them with a 6-2 week. However, they were to be equaled by Pardus, who did draw with Komodos, and they 4-0'd Yo-Yo's franchise in a pretty tough game. Well, not pretty tough for them, but what seemed to be. And the success for Might of Hades that was found in Prospect isn't being found as they got swept by Kapakli. 4-0 for a brilliant bounce back week for Snow's franchise.
I mean, before we continue, I'm just going to ask if Tavish wants to mention anything there.
You calling the franchise of the 3 I see while the AGM is in the call here for sure.
Either way, while Kingsman loses his mind at bullying Tavish, let us jump across over to the standings.
Alright, let's go to Glacy standings. Sadly, I cannot do anything back here to Kingsman because Bishop's a little bit too dominant here in the Glacy Conference and Challenger, sitting on 15 wins in the first spot. And you have Apprentices sitting second with 11. Gaskebell, pretty close, 10 wins on the third spot. Feather just one behind them as well on 9. Then the 2-win gap between Feather and Neptunium and Gelpi, who are both on 7. Then Koyomi and Impulse both on 6, Mischief on 5, Oracles on 4, so the top pretty close to each other beside Bishops. The middle, a lot of movement can happen in the coming week.
Definitely. I mean, Bishops, I think they're the favourites at this point across the entirety of Challenger, but it's definitely a close overall standings aside from Bishops being super far ahead. But on the other side, would you like to tell us how close it is out there, Kingsman?
Yeah, Serene Yamato, they have a 1 gap lead to Shrine in second. They are tied with Pardus, though, on 11. All 4 of the top 4 have not lost a game yet. Masai might have 3 draws, but they 4-0 this week has allowed them to claim that 4th spot ahead of Eclipse, who are sat in 5th on 9. Kapakli and Crusaders tied on 8. Very different records, but they both sat tied. And then there's already a whole series gap from 8th to 7th. Komodos and Orcus sat on 4 wins. And just by the looks of things, getting battered. Orcus have 72 goals conceded and sit with 4 wins, and a series gap already is massive. And then down below, you have Canaans on 2 wins. All of these franchises, the bottom 3, only having 1 draw and 3 losses.
I mean, that is not great. If they've got just to clarify, if they've all got 1 draw and 3 losses, does that mean aside from that draw, Canaans haven't won a single game?
Yeah, it will do. Tavish, I'm sure, being on the roster, can tell us all about how that feels.
Yeah, it feels great. Going 0-8 in your first week and then getting swept on stream, it feels perfect. But I do have faith.
I believe in you. You and Yo-Yo's franchise. I'm sure between you can figure it out. But over to the upcoming matches, what do you think Glacius is looking like here?
Well, first of all, I'll tell Nations that he should run his franchise better, not Yo-Yo. But for the matchups here in the Glacius conference, we do have a top 3 battle. Bishops taking on Cascabel. It's going to be an interesting one happening on... I totally didn't write down the date. At the end of the week, actually. So we have to wait quite a while to see what's happening there. But we also have Apprentice taking on Neptunium. Again, a battle in the top 5. Besides that, again, it's just most of the matchups are really mid in the table battles to really figure out who's going to move up, who's going to move down. Nothing really spectacular like that's a number 2 versus number 3 matchup. It's really only Bishops, Cascabel, and Apprentice versus Neptunium.
So at least 2 matches we get from Tavish there that are looking to be the interesting ones that aren't just similar skilled, or at least not similar skilled, but not super important matches. Over in Ignis, though, are there any interesting matchups coming up there, Kingsman?
Well, I know it seems a bit early to be saying, oh my god, we have a first v second, but we have a first versus second already. Shrine versus Yamato. It is tonight. I don't know whether it's happened or it's happening. It could be both. And then alongside that, I'm sure Tavish will be wanting to provide the hype for Orcus versus Canaans. The 2 sides I said... Oh my god. Damn. I just heard some shouting in my ear apparently from somewhere. But Canaan's Orcus, the bottom of the table tie. 9th versus 10th. For perhaps both teams, I said, didn't have a great start to the season. Maybe one of them can have a good start or good bounce back to their season. And then Eclipse versus Crusaders. It's 5th versus 7th. But it's going to be a very, very good game. Both sides having a loss and a draw this week. So I think both sides can have a pretty good go at it and see which side has the better regame.
Definitely, and I mean that first versus second matchup, I'm sure whoever wins that, if it is a win and not a draw, is going to be happy with it. If it draws, I mean, it'll be a bit of a sad ending to what could have been a massive series for one of the 2 teams. But either way, those were your upcoming fixtures for this week in Challenger. Now we can jump across to rival results from week number 2. And Tavish, I will let you take away with Glacius.
We didn't get any teams going 8-0 here. We do get a couple sweeps coming in, but no team having the perfect week. The 2 sweeps, Mirage over Tombow being a 4-0 in favor of Mirage. And then you have Journeyman going 4-0 over Montbéliard. Talking about Mirage, actually, they had the best week so far. They won 7-1. Obviously, that 4-0 versus Tombow, and then a 3-1 versus Python. And the other team, Journeyman, the other team with the sweep, they get the sweep versus Montbéliard, and then they have a draw against Uranium. So, a little close there. Also, the only draw happening there, Montbéliard on the other side, they're having a very rough week. Getting swept by Journeyman and then losing 1-3 versus Mystics. They managed to get one game win there, but just not enough to get a draw as a victory.
Definitely not. I mean, that is another one to add to the tally of Glacius draws. I think at this point that must be, 2 draws across 3 tiers in a single week. So it seems like there's not many teams that play super equal across all of Glacius. Over in Ignis, it's looking like there's at least more draws. Do you want to take us through them all, Kingsman?
Yeah, well, if my eyes read correctly, it's 2 draws. Onka versus Serene Meiji. Onka can't go flawless 4-0 in their first week. They're going to sit 3-1. Same with Erebos, who managed to go 4-0 onto Sanctum, who went 0-8 for the second week in a row. I think that is probably the worst start you can have for an RSC season, let alone me roasting any other tier. Then it's pretty bad start, but a team that hasn't had a great bounce back is Tizok. They got a win and a loss in the first week. Everything was looking all right. Then they went 1-7, getting swept by Nightfall and 3-1 by Erebos, who continue their unbeaten form at the top of the table. But all round, only 3 teams getting 2 wins, and it's a hell of a bounce back for Nightfall going 7-1. They didn't get a single win in game week 1, but now they're going to see themselves going 7-1 and definitely finding themselves going up the table.
Definitely. I mean, the Onka versus Meiji, for those who were here last week, that match was ongoing while we were doing RSCast last week because we were delayed on the day that we started. So anyone watching that would have known the result because there was someone in chat telling us the result live. But over to standings, we can see how this week has affected it. Why don't you take us through Glacius here, Tavish?
Yeah, in the Glacius Conference and Rival, it's a little bit closer than in the other 2 tiers we had so far. We have Mirage at the top on 13 wins. Pretty close to them are Knights and Journeyman, both on 11. The only real difference there is the goal differential really making the difference between Knights and Journeyman. And then you have Uranium on 4th. A little bit of a gap there between Uranium and Journeyman of 3 wins. Uranium on 8. Then just below that, Mystics on 7. Tied to Continuum, who are also on 7. Ash, Python, Tombow all on 6 wins. And Montbéliard on 5. So again, just like the previous 2 tiers, the top pretty close to each other. And everything can happen in basically who is placed between 4th and 8th. 4th and 10th actually. A draw here or a sweep there can just completely switch the entire table.
Definitely, you took the words right out of my mouth. A single bad week for any of those teams could spell disaster. Hopefully, going across to Ignis, it isn't the same for some of the franchises to give them a bit of calm. But what are you thinking about it here, Kingsman?
Well, the top 3 all tied. And 1 goal separates first and second. Erebos, though, they do take the lead on 12 wins. Onka also 12 wins. And Hydras are 9 goals behind. But that's all that separates the top 3 is goals at the moment. And, well, Serene Meiji, they find themselves in 11th. Not 11th, 4th with... 4th with 11 wins. Close enough. And the Nightfall find themselves 5th in 2 games away from Meiji in 4th, and Caligo, is a statistic. Caligo have not found themselves a win yet, but they are found themselves alone on 6th with a 0 goal difference. That is a pretty impressive record, and Sentinels and Tizok tied on 6th. Tizok coming down probably from near the top. Yoruba on 5 wins, and then Sanctum. Deary me, I don't think as a GM or AGM you'd want to see a 0, or even a player, you'd want to see a 0 next to your win tally. But Sanctum and B-Shake will be seeing that. as Sanctum have no wins.
Definitely, and the scary thing I think to think about there is that Sanctum at negative 30 goal difference has a worse goal difference than the 3 other negative teams combined there. So it's really not a good time to be a Sanctuary fan up in rival. But either way, we've seen the results. We've seen the team in 11th place according to Kingsman. Let's see if any of these teams can make it out of 11th place over in Glaciers first.
Yeah, talking about Glaciers, we just like Kingsman had it. You don't want to say it's like first against second or second against third. Well, I do have a second against the third matchup here for you. It's Knights taking on Journeyman, and it's happening actually in a couple days already. It's happening in 2 days, so we might know pretty soon if there's going to be a switch in the top 3. Besides that, Ash having a good opportunity this week to bounce back, as they're taking on Tombo and Mystics. Sorry. Tombo just underneath them, Mystics just above them. So a good opportunity for them to show everyone what they're truly made of. And then a team who is having the worst week possible is going to be Montbéliard, because they have to face off against Mirage and Knights. So the bottom team having to face off against the top 2. That is going to be rough, but it can also prove something for an upset.
Definitely, but across over in Ignis, I know from my team that there's some interesting matches. So why don't you take us to a few of the Ignis matches here, Kingsman?
Well, I'm going to be very curious on what those matches are, but it's fine, because I've already spotted one of them. It's Serene Meiji versus Hydras, 3rd versus 4th. 1 win separates them. Hydras needing to continue that good flow of form to find themselves away. And oh my god, it's another 1st versus 2nd. Onka versus Erebos. God, the hype is unreal. I said 1 goal separates them. I wonder what's going to separate them after this series, guys. But Erebos, they do have a pretty tough week in all seriousness. They have Serene Meiji in 4th place, who have Hydras in 3rd, which is just the top 4 teams to be playing each other at this point. And they have Erebos, have Onka and Meiji. Cool, what a week. So we'll definitely be seeing the top 4 shift there at some point.
Definitely. I mean, you mentioned what the result afterwards. Theoretically, Onka versus Erebos could end up being a draw where the exact same amount of goals are scored and conceded. So it could end up that they don't move at all, to be fair. But either way, rather than speculate about what's going to happen in that matchup, let us see what has happened in Elite this week. As Tavish, why don't you take us away with Glacius?
So first of all, Mel, I can tell you we have more draws coming in here. Finally, we can talk a little bit more here. We have 3 draws here in the Elite standings for or in the Elite results for Glaciers. Prophets versus Saturnia ended in a draw. Deception versus Velocity ended in a draw. And Renai versus Deception ended in a draw. That also means Deception having a pretty neutral week. They go 4-4, so they really can't complain based on that result. They didn't win, they didn't lose, so they're, I think in standings are pretty locked in where they are right now. But talking about some teams who did a little bit better, Caspian is one of those teams going 7-1. They managed to sweep Anju and then get a 3-1 victory against Velocity. Another team that managed to get a sweep was Bladesmith, but sadly they couldn't continue that run. Bladesmith, they lost in a 3-1, sadly, to Scorch.
I mean, that is not a great result for them all round. Over in Ignis, I think for once it is the conference with the less amount of draws. So why don't you take us through that, Kingsman?
Yeah, only the 1 draw in this conference, and it's to be found by Carbo onto Thanatos. Both sides were really looking for a result, but not going to find it. But there is still one team that is going to try a flawless run, and it's going to be Drakes. They get a 4-0 onto Zulu, a very good result, and then 3-1 Temple, a side that were looking strong after week 1, but after 2 losses this week, things might have to be reconsidered after that. But it's a very strong week number 3 for them. Another side actually having a strong week is Vanguards. They got 2 draws in week 1, and well, they got 2 wins here. A 4-0 onto Itzkotel. So I had 2 of the same players from their campaign last season, and a 3-1 onto Carbo. So I think Vanguard's finally picking up some form.
Definitely, and I mean, you mentioned it's a good week for a few teams. Sadly, that also means it's not a good week for some of the opposing teams, most likely. Either way, we can see how these results have affected the standings. Tavish, why don't you take it away with Glacius?
Yeah, Glacius did switch up a little bit. Bladesmith at the top at 13 wins. Caspian and Scorch following, not too close, but still within a serious reach, both on 10 wins. Only difference there is the goal difference, which is only a difference of 1 in favor of Caspian. Then you have Renai on 9 wins, sitting in 4th. Rooks sitting on 8 wins in 5th spot. Andrew, Velocity, Deception, all on 7 wins. And out of those 3, only Andrew has the positive goal differential, which gives them a little bit of an edge over the other 2. Profits taking the 9th spot with 6 wins, and Saturnia team definitely having a rough patch here in the Glacius Conference. 3 wins and a pretty negative goal differential.
Definitely not a great time to be supporting Saturnia here. They've got a pretty bad goal difference as well. It's somehow worse than what Sanctum had when they were 0 wins, so maybe Sanctum at least doing a good job of defending in Rival. But over in Ignis Conference, how are the teams doing, and are Sanctuary doing any better there, Kingsman?
Well, I mean, they're in 7th, but reading chat, I saw Edgy say Vanguard's best team. They're not even the second best team in the conference at the minute, as they sit in 3rd. But Drake's 4-0, 4 wins out of their start. They find themselves with a plus 45 goal difference. Now that is a record to go by, and Darkness find themselves in 2nd place. So it's a very good stuff for them. Vanguard's apparently the best team, not showing it yet, as they sit in 3rd place, tied even for 3rd with Tigris, another team finding a double win week. Then there's a gap to Thanatos in 5th with 8 wins. We normally see this in Elite, lots of teams winning and losses, and it's normally close in either side of the table. But in 6th, it's Kotal and Temple on 7 wins apiece, fighting it out. Well, that's and then Carbo in 8th on 5, near enough with Zulu in 9th and 4th, and Azuchi only finding 1 game win this entire season, minus 42 goal difference as they sit in 10th.
I mean, 1 win is still better than none for Azuchi at least, and I think at least compared to up to about 6th place there, they can definitely make it if they just play well for these next few weeks. And speaking of at least next week, we do right now have the Glacius and Ignis week 3 fixtures for Elite. So why don't you take it away with Glacius, Tavish?
Yeah, talking about Glacius, one team who is going to have a very, very rough week is going to be Deception, because they're going to be facing off against Bladesmith and Caspian, the number 1 and the number 2 here in the conference, which gives Bladesmith and Caspian a good opportunity to really stay at the top here. But on the other hand, it also gives Deception a good opportunity to play massive upset here and maybe hopefully get a draw, or maybe even get a victory against either one of those 2 teams. Then talking a little bit more about Caspian, they also have to take on Saturnia. So Saturnia, hopefully they can bounce back a little bit, but you're facing off Caspian, which is a pretty rough matchup. And then talking more about Bladesmith, they also have Renai on their schedule. Renai being in 4th spot, so that will be a little bit of a stronger fight between the 2. But one team also having a possible good week is going to be Andrew. They're taking on Scorch and Rooks. 2 teams who are just above them, but Andrew's in a good spot to flip the table there a little bit.
Definitely. So some interesting matches coming up, especially if you like seeing results come through. It's looking like the 13th is going to be the best day, as I believe that's 4 teams playing each other on a single day, or 8 teams technically, 4 matches. I've been told it's Friday the 13th as well, so maybe it's a cursed matchup of days, who knows. But over in Ignis, at least, it looks like maybe there's some superstitious teams because there's not a single match on 13th. What do you think about that, Kingsman?
No, there isn't. They're clearly trying to avoid the bad luck. And I don't want to hype everyone up again, but we might have another first versus second game. Whoa.
Oh my god.
Oh, am I getting lucky today? Drakes versus Darkness. 4-0 and 3 wins and 1 draw. One side will be looking to push off from the top, or even in Darkness's case, potentially catch up to Drakes. And well, that will be on the 11th. And then the day before, Darkness will play Tigra's side that's only lost once this season. And well, Darkness have a very, very tough week to stand for themselves. And on the other hand, Thanatos, if they're going to look to push forward, they have Itzcoatl, it's 5th versus 6th. Both sides will be looking to push towards that top 4 fight, it's seeming to be at the minute. And they're going to need results either end. Itzcoatl having Temple tonight, a side that found 2 losses this week and on a bad run of form, and they have changed their roster, but I wonder, will it come at the cost of more bad results, or will we see Temple potentially skyrocket?
I was about to say, it's definitely the right time in the season to make those roster changes. You don't want to leave it too late to the point where you have issues due to, let's say, you want to keep your roster, it doesn't work at week 6 or 7, and at that point you're out of time. But at least they're making the changes now when it can still have a very, very strong impact on the results. But either way, I think that is all for Elite this week, as we now can jump across to the Master results for week number 2. Why don't you take us away with Glaciers here, Tavish?
Yeah, and we're continuing here with a couple of draws and a couple of sweeps. If I said correctly, 3 sweeps and 3 draws. So again, a couple big results here. Talking about the sweeps first. Illusion taking a sweep over Slytherin. Infinity taking a sweep over Hack. And I may or may not have made a mistake. It's 2 sweeps, sorry, and 1 draw. I was looking at my wrong notes. But still, 1 draw. IOV Vulcan is still that draw result. Besides that and the 2 sweeps, it's all 3-1 results. 2 teams who had a really good week are Infinity and Illusion. Both teams had a sweep in their favor. Both teams also got a 3-1 in their favor. So both teams 7-1 can really affected the standings. One team having a little bit of a rougher week was Sophos. They went 2-6.
I mean, a few teams definitely going to be happy with the results out of there. But over in Ignis, are there any teams that are going to be super happy here, Kingsman?
There is one team I think that might be super happy, and that is Haven. They find themselves going 8-0 this week as a brilliant bounce back from a win-loss week last week. And Serene Nara, they were looking good with a sweep onto Abyss, and then got swept by Haven. A side really looking to flatten out any creases they had in week 1. Another team that's keeping it consistent at the minute is Hades. They go 7-1 this week, a 3-1 onto Wyverns, and a sweep onto Leo to send Leo to a double loss week. Not looking good for them, but as I say, and I'm going to say to every team that I've talked about tonight, there's plenty of weeks for everything to change, so don't get too confident or too down about your start to the season.
I mean, Keza in chat saying that they swept after cutting their entire roster. I don't think that's usually the main strategy that teams do to sweep, but Keza, maybe he's just so good at the game that he doesn't even care. He just cuts the entire roster and then vibes with it. But either way, some very, very good results, especially for Haven there, as you mentioned. And I imagine that's going to really help them out on the standings here. But first, before we get over there, we have to go through Glacis. So it's all yours, Tavish.
Glacis, the tier that is now the closest is Master in the Glacis conference. You have Infinity and Illusion both on 11 wins, sitting in tied first spot, but Infinity takes that first spot purely on goal differential. Transcend Vulcan making 3rd and 4th spot, both on 10 wins. Then a 3-game gap between Vulcan and Sophos. And then IOV Slytherin also sitting on that 7 win. So Sophos, IOV Slytherin making the 5, 6, and 7 spot here in the standings. Heck and Kings both on 6 wins, taking the 8th and 9th spot. Messiahs having a pretty rough patch here, sitting on 5 wins at the final spot in the standings.
I mean, that is very, very tight in comparison to some of these other tiers. So many teams having the same amount of wins. I wonder if it's the same over in Ignis. Why don't you let us know, Kingsman?
Well, Haven have found themselves a lead. That 8-0 week really propelling themselves forward to 13 wins. Hades, though, they still find themselves one of the 2 unbeaten teams here with Montezuma. 11 wins for them. And, well, it's going to be 10 wins for Montezuma. And every other team, apart from those top 3... Oh, no, never mind. Leo just being the outlier. Leo being the outlier. The rest of them have a negative goal difference, which in week 2 is very interesting. Wyverns, Gladiators, and Nox filling out the top 6. Gladiators on 9, and Wyverns and Nox tied on 8 wins. Leo then find themselves on 6 with that positive goal difference to absolutely set what I was saying out of the window. Dogon, though, find themselves tied with 6. And Serene Nara, which apparently Keza seems to be 1v3ing Master, or 2v3ing, find themselves in 9th, which is pretty impressive for a 2v3. And Abyss, still the only team in Master Ignis yet to find a win. They are with 4 wins. 4 game wins.
I mean, yeah, like you said, 5 wins while 2v3ing. It's an interesting strategy. I don't think it's a strategy that's gonna win you the playoffs there, Keza, but I mean, I don't think anyone can really stop you, so hope all goes well with your team, I guess. And that's your standings for Master in week number 2. Looking forward to this week, we have the upcoming fixtures. Why don't you take it away with Glaciers, Tavish?
Yeah, talking about Glaciers, one team to definitely talk about is going to be Iovi. They have a pretty rough week. They're taking on Infinity and Illusion, 2 teams who are the first and the second spot in the standings, and whose difference only the goal differential. So for Iovi, a chance to really show what they're made of against those 2 top teams, and for Infinity and Illusion, a opportunity to show who's of those 2 is really gonna take the top spot. Then talking about another team that had a pretty rough in the past week is gonna be was Sophos, who was 2-6 in the last week. This week they get an opportunity to bounce back at least a little bit. They're facing off against Infinity, which is pretty rough, but they're also facing off against Vulcan, which is a matchup they should be able to win. And then one other matchup, talking about Vulcan, obviously facing off against Sophos, but they're also facing off against Transcend, and Transcend is just 1 spot above Vulcan. So a lot of teams facing off each other here in the top 5 of the standings that can really shift how some teams will make it to the end of week 3.
Definitely, and before we go fully across to Ignis, I'm not sure if there's a visual bug at the top of this sheet or whether there's just something going on there, but there's definitely that interesting first fixture in Ignis. But what do you think of the rest there, Kingsman?
You've absolutely just stolen my opening point, which was to
Unlucky.
say, where's this result? It's about 2 weeks, 3 weeks late. But we know that's on the 15th of October, I assume, unless there's been a massive scheduling mess up, which in that case, we will see it again. Anyway, this week, it's a big week for Montezuma, who need to push forward as they play Hades. It's not first versus second, don't get your hopes up, but it is first versus third. A massive game for both teams. Can Montezuma continue that unbeaten run? Obviously going 2 wins this week. Momentum is key. They play Abyss, who need results soon, or things are just not going to be looking good for them. And a mid-table scrap, which people might look past, but not if you're me, but it is going to be Nox versus Wyverns. Wyverns found themselves 2 wins in the first week and were looking pretty, but they now find themselves in the mid-table, and Nox also on 8 wins. 1 goal separates them. Mal's going to steal my thing of no matter what the result could change the standings, because he'll talk about what if the same goal difference and ruin it, but you know what, that's not a problem. I'm not going to be in tears or anything after this, but to round it off, Gladiators, they were looking to make a push towards that top 3 spots, and well, they have a chance to do it as they play Hades this week, and they play the 2-man roster in Keza. I'm still very curious how this 2v3 from Keza is going to hold up.
Definitely, and while you were talking through those matches, just so that we can do a bit of a name and shame, I went through the back end sheets to find out who it was who scheduled it on the 15th of the 9th. It was Serenity, so we can blame Serenity for it being there, and yeah, that's all you got to do, Keza. You just got to let Serenity know he's a month in the past. Make sure he gets out scheduled for the right date. I'm surprised no one else noticed it until now. But I mean, that was the Masters fixtures. Hopefully someone fixes that Wyverns versus. Yeah, we just. I mean, that's why we got the new Discord command, so that we can know who ran it. But it looks like you have a very, very hard job coming up here, Tavish, with Glacius up in Premier.
Oh yeah, I have it really difficult. 3 series not played, which I truly hope are played soon, because then we have some results to talk about. But 2 sweeps here happening. Council of Sir sweeping Ox, and Visionary sweeping Brocker. That's it. I know Visionary Brocker was on stream. It was, I want to say dominant, but it was close in some cases.
Definitely, and I don't want to say that it was a forfeit, but I definitely know that Ox, I'm pretty sure, are looking for a new Premier team entirely, so that could have either been a forfeit or just the last straw. Oh, it's just a sweep, so it looks like it may have just been the last straw. If it is Ox that are looking for a new roster, either it's someone else and I've got my teams mixed up. But over in Ignis, at least, Kingsman, you've actually got to pretend to do some work, so why don't you take us through these results?
I do. Big shout out to Monkey Mode, the absolute baller. They get in the sweep, but oh no, it's a name I'm gonna butch. Oh dear God. Tenebris 2-2 on twirls. Is that right, Tavish?
Difficult? How is it a difficult name? It's Tenebris.
It's difficult for me, man. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for me. A 2-2 from those sides. Both of them good result for them, as neither of them found a win in week number 1. Sentient picked their run back up, got swept in week 1, but they found a 3-1 onto Team Serene, who they find themselves, obviously they got a draw in week 1. Shaman 2-2 with Oblivion. Oblivion were looking to push on, but a 2-2 will hold them up, as remember, Prem only play 1 game per week, and Shaman get in their second draw of the season. Hosky continue their good run with a 3-1 win onto Leviathans, keeping Leviathans without a win in this season. And Must Do Fluck versus Panthera is yet to be played.
I mean, we always love yet to be played matches, especially as Premier is the only tier where that is a possibility. But these guys are all usually very busy, so you can't fault them for maybe not managing to get a game scheduled and or played. Source says no excuse. I'm at least going to give them the excuse. But Tavish, why don't you take us away with Glacius standings?
Well, Glacius standings for Premier, obviously, like Kingsman said, they only play 1 series a week, so that most of the standings will be pretty close. And looking at that, Visionary at the top on 6 wins. Then you have Esport Berg and Council of Sur both sitting on 4 wins, making second and third. Then a couple teams all on 3 wins, making up the 4th, 5th, and 6th spot here in the standings are Momentum, Ophiusa Esports, and Brocker. Then you have 1 team on 2 wins, which is Click. And then the final 3 teams, Solus, Illusory, and Ox Gaming, making the bottom 3 of the Glacius standings.
Definitely, and one important thing to note, especially in the case of Esportsburg, since this is Premier and since not every match gets played each week, Esportsburg 4 wins but also only has 4 games played, so could quite easily, between whenever this match actually gets scheduled and played, jump up at least to that first place spot. But why don't you take it away with Ignis with a few more games played overall here, Kingsman?
Yeah, only 1 game not played, which is really good for Prem, actually. And Team Hosky only dropping 4 goals entirely, and that will cost them 1 game win in 7 wins. Oblivion, another team unbeaten with a win and a draw. They sit on 6 wins. Shaman, 2 draws, find themselves in 3rd with 4 wins. And Panthera, they've played 1 game, 1-1. So good record for them, but they still find themselves in the top 4. Team Serene in 5th place with 3 wins, a draw and a loss. Same with Tenebris, who find themselves 3 and 5 as well, along with Sentient and Leviathans. It's a 3 and 5 fest, but the only one to stick out is Sentient, who got swept week 1 and then picked up a 3-1. The rest have a draw and a loss. Must Do Flick have a 50% win rate, but since they haven't played their game against Panthera, find themselves in 9th, and Kronos, getting swept on week 1, will find themselves in 10th.
Definitely an interesting remaining series that could shake up the entire standings. But that is your entire Premier standings this week. Let's hope we have fixtures that we can talk about. It's looking good for Kingsman. It's not looking so good for Tavish. Why don't you take it away, Tavish?
Yeah, so I have... obviously, the matchups itself are pretty interesting to look at. But sadly, yeah, only 2 fixtures to truly talk about here, which is pretty sad if you really want to talk about Premier. But, you know, we do have Brocker versus Esportsburg and Illusory versus Visionary on the 13th and 14th of this week. But then looking a little bit just to the matchups, Ophiusa versus Momentum is an interesting one because it's 4th versus 5th in the standings. Click Ox Gaming could be an opportunity for Ox maybe to bounce back, to at least get a little bit of momentum in their favor, but besides that, nothing really too interesting.
Okay, well, before we move on, I just want to get your personal opinion here, Davish, for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, no.
Ophiusa versus Momentum. Who's going to win and by how much?
I think Momentum 3-1.
Oh, well, it's a shame because Arcus just said in Twitch chat that Ophiusa and Momentum just finished 3-1 to Ophiusa. So you're unlucky and have gone the wrong way. I gave you the chance, but you didn't make it. But either way, over to Ignis Premier. What do you see in there, Kingsman?
Damn it, Premier.
I will go back to our Premier team. Apparently, their game is scheduled, but only the captain knows when. So that is a good start, and it's not in the schedule. So I've just pinged one of our players to go, yo, when's the game? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Apparently it's scheduled, so I guess we'll find that out. But all the games scheduled here, Kronos versus Must Do Fluck, a bottom of the table battle. Well, actually, can't call it that because Must Do Fluck do have a game in hand. Team Serene Leviathans, 5th versus 8th, both have a 3 and 5 record. And it'll be interesting to see which one can propel forward. Oblivion, Tenebris, it's 2nd versus 6th. A win for Tenebris here would see them close the gap massively to the top 2. Panthera, Hosky. Hosky will be looking to continue their good run of form. And can they go without winning all season long? Only time will tell. And only this Panthera matchup will tell. And Shaman Sentient, it's 3rd versus 7th. Can one team stop Shaman from being the draw merchants?
I mean, all that is going to be seen this week, aside from obviously Ophiusa versus Momentum that we already have that result for. But I believe not only is that the end of the Premier fixtures, it is the end of the normal tier fixtures and standings and results. Now, however, we go to the franchise standings, and for absolutely no reason whatsoever to do with that 19th place team, Tavish, why don't you take it away?
Wow, thanks. I feel honored.
No
but yeah, talking about franchise standings, the bottom half of the standings. Ox Gaming standing in the last spot on 32 wins. Just above that is going to be my franchise DSQ on 33. Then above that, Shaman on 35. And just above that, Visionary on 36. Systema making the 16th spot on 37. Then Ford, Templar, and Click both sitting on 39 wins. Illusory, Momentum all both on 41, and the 11th spot goes to Team Serene on 43 wins.
That is definitely looking... I mean, it's not great for any of these teams being in the lower half. I was about to say it's looking good for some, but realistically, you don't want to be in the overall lower half of the franchise standings. Kingsman, I'll let you take this away, but I will say there must have been a typo for number 1 when it appears.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. It must be a typo. But yeah, I see complaining in chat about there not being one last week when he was top 5. My 3 words, cry about it. You're now 10th on 46 wins. Tied with Panthera and Azteca, both on 46. And Conflict to add to that, you're the only only franchise with a negative goal difference in the top 10. Sort it out, man. Shame, honestly.
Wow.
But in 7th place, we see Shadow, Green Phoenix, and Sanctuary all tied on 49. So even with essentially 5 tiers, Sanctuary find themselves in 5th place because obviously Sanctum are 0 and 16. Like that is a pretty good going from Bisha there. He's a tier down and he finds his franchise in 5th place with Might of Hades and Forge on 50 in 4th and 3rd. Very good starts to the season. And they have the highest win percentage, but because they have a Prem game that's not played, they sit in 2nd. And somehow, to be honest, I didn't know that my franchise was first. Simdog told me this morning when I was at work. So I was like, oh, nice. So, yeah, Council of Sir will sit on the 1st place spot. Hashtag carried by Bishops.
I mean, I can't really say much more than that because I can tell you whatever team Kingsman plays for probably can't be doing too great here, so they won't be helping too much. And I mean, that is your overall franchise standings. I believe now it is time for what was slightly delayed sent to us, the clip and fail of the week. Originally, we thought we didn't have one and we were just going to replay last week's fail of the week. But the media committee coming in absolutely clutch, I think, about half an hour ago, sending the clip of the week and the fail of the week across the source. So let's just go straight into the clip of the week. Fine. That's all. Right side, Pun. Nice one, Tor. Well played. I mean, we're back. That was such a sad clip to end it on. Wasn't the greatest clip we've ever seen. I don't know whether you two want to send out your opinions, but before you do, just to let everyone know, there is a poll currently going on in Twitch chat. Please vote for who you think the clip of the week was this week.
Well, you can go first.
Yeah. I mean, considering I'm pretty sure Wolfie got banned from being on clip of the week for not wanting to go to Master in about 100 seasons he's been in Elite. I don't think he should be allowed on there, but yeah, I agree with Mal. Pretty mid shot. Mine would have to go towards probably Carex. He might be on my franchise. It's not biased, but I do have to shout out also for a pretty nice shot on Soli. I'm pretty sure he got the dunk. It was if I remember rightly, he got a massive dunk onto someone and then slammed it home. And it was a brilliant shot, but I am going to have to go with Carex.
Yeah, I'm gonna join you there. Carrick's really did it for me as well. Just full control, gets a touch while from there floating. Beautiful play there.
And I mean, even if it was tied here, I think we've already figured out who would have won it if we needed a tiebreaker. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm in complete agreement with both of you. That goal was just on a different level compared to most of the other ones. I think the only one that actually seemed to massively compare to it was Wolfie's shot, which, as much as we're joking on, it was still a pretty nice shot overall. But it looks like, unless there's some major sway of voters in the next 10 seconds or so, Carrick's is going to be the player who wins it. It's 10 votes to him, 3 to Wolfie, 1 to Soli, none to the other two. So
in peace, the other.
Yay! Congrats!
yeah.
Congrats, Carrot! Woo!
Okay, well, before we go across to the fail of the week, we might as well show everyone the clips of the week once more over, just so everyone can enjoy some lovely Rocket League.
That's all.
I wasn't so new they'd beat it.
Right side pun.
Listen.
Nice one, Tall. Well played. And there we have it. Those were, once again, your potential clips of the week, although, as we've already said, Carrick's getting clip of the week there. Now, before we go across to the fail of the week, I've been told by source while we were watching that last one, it is worth having your audio up for this fail of the week. So let's just jump straight into it and see whatever the media team have cooked up for us this week.
Oh, I remove you. Can't have it too easy. Back post.
Oh!
That's alright.
I must have missed that.
I mean, I'm not sure what the people on the media committee are doing, but I don't actually know who made it. I think last week it was Oldham Steve, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't his magic. Looking at Ark in chat, it does seem to be his magic again. And I mean, what do you two think of that there then?
Well, lovely edit. What can we say? Media committee putting in the work. That's why it was late. I think they were spending weeks finding, or well, 1 week finding the perfect edit. That shot, they couldn't even find one for Yannick's shot. So, honestly, I think the meme puts it in the bag for me. It has to be Maurice's fail.
Yeah, I agree. The one from Yannick, it's a beautiful moment there, but Maurice just rushing back and then just whiffing the ball twice. It's just too beautiful.
And I think, I mean, I don't know if this has happened very often in RSCast history, but once again, it is completely unanimous from us three. It looks like chat also in favour. 9 votes to Maurice, 2 to Yannick. And I mean, you can't blame them there because, quite frankly, I think the editing added on just made it so much better. But before we continue, let's just watch that clip once more over again.
Oh, I remove you. Can't have it too easy. Back post.
Oh!
That's alright.
I must have missed that.
And I mean, yeah, what can you say? It's just that editing is top notch. I don't think it's as good as last week's one. And for anyone wanting to see last week's one, if you haven't already, I believe it's either on a VOD on Twitch or you can find it in one of the RSC channels. I don't know the exact channel, but either way, definitely some interesting fails and clips of the week this week. I don't know if either of you two have anything to say about the fail of the week other than what you've already said.
Nah. It was just too beautiful.
I
am a little bit sad because there was one fail on stream I think it was last night in a Master Series, where it was just a beautiful own goal, which was supposed to be a back pass. I'm sad it's not here, but Maurice's one does make do for it.
definitely. But I mean, let us jump now across to the next thing on our agenda, which I believe coming first goes to weekly awards. We'll let Kingsman take this one, just because I'm feeling so nice to him. So why don't you take us through Prospect, Kingsman?
I'm expecting to see a name that is difficult to pronounce in this eventually. But first of all, it's going to be Trixer from the System of Solaris roster with 600 points per game. Very precise. And it gets him an MVP. The finisher going to be White Pony for the Alta roster. Good start from him. And the FA is going to be Rake Boy with 100% shooting. If that guy isn't picked up after that performance, I don't know what will get you a team. I'm pretty sure he has been, but no idea. But Mutz, he is the he's the playmaker for Ox. He gets the most assists per game with 1.4, and the savior coming from my own franchise is going to be JPEG with 2.75 saves per game.
See, Kingsman, you thought I was trying to be mean to you by giving Prospect first, but in all reality, I had no idea who was about to appear on that because I don't look at the players of the week until after RSCast has happened. But either way, Tavish, why don't you take it away with Challenger?
Yeah, the MVP in Challenger is going to be Revised Neil with 478.75 points on average. Your finisher will be Nature with 1.88. Striker is going to be Max with 77.78%. He was trying to be closer to 100% in Prospect, but couldn't do it. Revised Neil coming back to be your playmaker with 1.75 assists per game. And the savior is going to be Andre with 2.43 saves on average.
Yeah, I mean, we see you there, Tavish, as well. Look at that, sneaky in that third place striker position at 54.55. But up to one of the best tiers in all of RSC, let's be honest. We have Kingsman taking Rival. Wow.
Yeah, and oh my god, what is my Challenger player doing? Anyway, we'll get to him in a minute. Sigsy or Sin is going to be your MVP with 492 points a game, almost robbing Arch of a double award this week. But Rev from Shadow is going to be your finisher, 1.75 goals per game, and somehow frauding his way up from Challenger into the Rival Players of the Week is going to be Ronan. He's nearly min CMV in Challenger, but a 60% shooting rate is going to find him as your striker for the week. I don't know how he's done that, but he doesn't even have that shooting rate in Challenger. Oh, he must have been playing well. But your playmaker is going to be Hoggy, tied with the Laroni, 1.25. And your savior, he is going to get onto the Players of the Week. It's going to be Art from the Serene Meiji roster.
I mean, it's always good to see one of my teammates up there, but I think the thing that really completes that is Ronan there in the striker position. But over to Elite now. I think it's your turn to take it away, Tavish.
Yeah, and I already see one name popping up twice. It's Bertram with a couple numbers being your MVP with 611.25 points on average. He's also going to be your finisher with 2.75 goals per game. Withy is going to be the striker with 80% shooting accuracy. And then playmaker also for the Alpha Search franchise is going to be RMD with 1.5 assists per game, tied with his teammate Bertram and also with Sark. And then you have Max Bash, I hope I pronounced it right, I was struggling with reading that, with 2.5 saves per game.
Yeah, and I mean, it is definitely a good week there for Alpha Surge, especially Bertram getting almost 3 awards, just slightly too far off. But over to Master Players of the Week. Why don't you take it away, Kingsman?
DMY, he's an FA, but he's going to be MVP with 633 points per game. Ren is going to be your finisher with 2.13 goals per game. Your striker is going to be solely Goat. We saw him in Clip of the Week. He finally wins something in the Players of the Week. And the man that has done non-stop complaining all stream long. For once, I don't think he's going to be complaining as he gets 1.75 assists per game. Conflict is your playmaker. And Rapid's 2.75 was the lucky number last season to be Saviour. Rapid's, he's going to up the level. He gets 3 saves per game, and he is your Saviour in Master this week.
You wanted to say this season,
good.
didn't you?
Yep.
I mean, we're almost there. We're only what, like 2 weeks into a 9-week season, so it's almost the end of the season, to be fair. But I'll let you take this early week's Premier Players of the Week, Tavish.
Oh yeah, talking about Premier, your MVP is gonna be Hayes with 529 points exactly. Then Brooke is gonna be your finisher with 1.5, tied with Torch. Then looking for a striker, it's gonna be the one and only Ols with 50%. And Niche, correcting me if I'm wrong, please. Will be your playmaker with 1.75 assists per game. Savior is gonna be Hartman with 3.25 saves per game. If you thought that Master had a lot of saves, Premier can do even more.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's pronounced Naish off the top of my head. I don't want to try and correct it and be completely wrong. Oh, look at me go. Sometimes I do know players' names. But that is Premier Player of the Week so far, taking us across now to the Team of the Week. Why don't you take it away, Kingsman?
Honestly, after this stream, I was ready to roast Monkey Mode for not getting any. Oh, that's a shame. But anyway, Trickster, he was your MVP. He's going to end up on Team of the Week in the Terra roster. Rube for Bishops is going to find himself as a Team of the Week. Mensu from Hydras is going to find himself as your rival. Alpha Surge getting 2 players. Was it RMD? I don't know how Bertram has got it. He found himself up there a lot. RMD is going to find it. Ren from the Sanctuary roster is going to find himself up top. And somehow he didn't get close to any of the top 3 weekly awards. But Monkey Mode peaking in Prem, apparently, as he is going to be your Premier. He's going to be on your Premier Team of the Week.
I mean, yeah, what can we say? I guess, I'm not saying anything dodgy happened in the background, but bribery is still a possible option for how Monkey Mode appeared on this Team of the Week. But who knows, because it's Andre who makes these, I believe. Either that or it's Mox. Someone definitely sends it to someone else, and there definitely was that possibility. But those were all your players and Team of the Week. Definitely some interesting just people up on there. I mean, we saw the Challenger player up in Rival. We saw Monkey Mode somehow get Player of the Week without even appearing on... Team of the Week without even appearing on Player of the Week. It's just sometimes like that. But another thing we have to cover is, of course, the Fantasy League and predictions. So I will let Kingsman take it away with whichever category he wants to take first.
I'll go Fantasy. And oh my god, Rapids, Ruboards, Goofy and Silly. Is going to be your weekly top 3. Clearly, he's not being goofy and silly anymore, as he finds himself top of the weekly top 3. Mox is going to be second in the weekly, and Arcus me third. Mox, though, overall, taking the title so far, as he finishes third. And I'll also do this bit in the middle to save Tavish the effort. It's going to be Raw Bean, top of Masters, 418. Mr. Efficiency, top of Elite with 410. It's going to be Mox, top of Rival with 397. And again, man, these Forge management just goofy and silly. It is Axmos who is going to be goofy and silly, top of Challenger. And Maurice, he's got Fail of the Week, but something he's probably going to be more proud of is being top of the weekly top tier manager for Prospect.
Definitely, and I mean... I was about to say I'll let Tavish take it away, but he seems happy to do it himself. I'm not even needed anymore.
Now, talking about who's going to be good at predictions, talking about the top 3. Halo just doing it all. For this week, he will be your number 1 with 37 of the predictions. Then Neuronics on 32, Maisie also on 32. And if you're just looking at the general leaderboards of predictions, Halo also doing really good there on the 64. Arch with 56. And Buddha is on 53. And, Kingsman... We were talking, you don't want to take any difficult names. You could have started anywhere on this sheet, and you just went for the most difficult name there was.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, he's not wrong, but I was going to just say Rapids and just go with the slow, but I was like, for stream purposes, I got to go with Rubods and Goofy and Silly as well, because I'd just very goofy, I guess.
Yeah, true.
I mean...
Very silly.
I will say you didn't really think it through. I even gave you that advantage, like Tavish said. You could have picked anything, and you honed in on the hard name. It's not even me trying to punish you; it's you trying to punish you. But that was your weekly fantasy league and predictions leaderboard. Before we get any further, I'm going to, before anyone can steal it from me, thank the sponsors. Last week they stole it from me, so thank you to Team Hosky, Team Serene, Gamers Apparel, and Badass all for sponsoring and making this league happen. It genuinely couldn't be here without them. And I mean, any final thoughts from either of you two?
Oh well, I've got to start learning team names. Apparently, I got to go through prospect lists this week, and maybe I got to have a one-to-one with Conflict on how to say that name, because I don't think if I sit there for a few hours, I'm going to get that by myself. So maybe I'll have to revise on how to do that. But overall, it is still week 2. There's still, as Mal pointed out, it's not the end of the season. There's 7 weeks to go. So prove a point. If you're down in the dumps, at least you're not. It can't be as bad as Sanctum, but there's still time for them to pull it back. There is still. There's only one team on 0 wins. I'm just saying. But there's still time for them to pull it back. There's a total of 56 games left. They could go 56 and 16 for all we know and make the greatest comeback in all time. But there's still time for you guys to prove us wrong on the desk.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Wise words here from Kingsman to really motivate everyone to not end up like Sanctum. But obviously, it's been a it has been a pleasure to be here yet again. Been here last season for, in the middle spot, now doing something different, but enjoying it as always. I can't wait for next week to see what happened here in week 3. Or, actually what's going to happen in week number 3.
Definitely. And one last thing to close it out. Kingsman, I want you to repeat after me, okay? Basilisks.
Basilisk.
There we go. You've got it. He's figured it out. That's all from us though this week. And hopefully next week we'll have the full team here, and I won't have to step in because I won't be around.
I don't have to sit with Conflict in a VC.
Oh, what a shame! Shouldn't have told him. But yes, that is all from us. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Do you think you are? Who do you
Mama told me always stay the same. Just promise you'll never change on me. I'ma stay solid, never change. Just long as you never switch lanes on me. Mama told me always stay the same.
cup, though.